Okay, well, welcome to the Break Your Sugar Addiction class. And I picked this. I know I did a class on sugar detox in the spring, like around February. And I wanted to do this again because starting in October, especially Halloween, is what I call the gateway to all of the things that seem to affect our health, especially cold and flu season. It's really more related to sugar, I think, among other things. And um, and so I wanted to do this not just as a detox or cleanse, but to really show you what is going on, and you get to look at yourself and see, do I have an addiction to this? How is sugar affecting my body? So that's why I'm doing this particular class this month. And as you go through and listen, feel free to reach out and let me know what thoughts come up for you, any questions. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and get on with class. And then I am going to stop my video. All right. So welcome to the Break Your Sugar Addiction class. Food addiction can lead to obesity and complications such as diabetes and high blood pressure. Unfortunately, when people think about their health as it relates to food, they rarely think about sugar as being one of the core issues. They think about sugar as an addiction, even less. If you are concerned about yourself or a family member and that sugar addiction may be a core cause of issues, here are some things to consider about what sugar addiction actually is. By making smarter food choices, you can eat less sugar and lose weight without feeling deprived. Our sugar-laden diet is literally killing us. That's the conclusion of a study reported at the annual meeting of the American Heart Association in March 2013. The study authors attributed 180,000 annual deaths worldwide, 25,000 in the United States alone, to sugary beverages. Just the beverages. Sodas and fruit drinks aren't our only sources of sugar. The average American eats between 22 and 30 teaspoons of added sugar each day, according to the AHA. The harmful effects of sugar are primarily due to the weight gain from added sugar in the foods we eat and sugar-sweetened beverages. Most of the deaths are related to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. How much sugar do we actually need? According to AHA guidelines, women shouldn't get more than 100 of our daily calories, which is about 6 teaspoons from added sugar. In reality, you don't need any added sugar. The first thing to know about sugar addiction is how the brain works on sugar. It truly becomes a battle of your brain versus food. Sugar can cause your brain to have a large release of dopamine. Dopamine works with the regulators in your brain. And when large amounts are released, large amounts of dopamine are released, these regulators are dulled. This means it takes more and more sugar to get the same feeling as the first time. So whereas a small cupcake may have been enough for you, over time, it will take 2 or more to get the same feeling. So in a nutshell, people become addicted to sugar because their brain Their brain tells them it feels good. When it's consumed, sugar turns into glucose, which is the fuel that powers the cells in your body. Glucose also helps your brain produce serotonin, the happy hormone that lifts your mood. Overcoming sugar addiction may mean you'll have to find other ways to help elevate your emotions. Addiction to sugar can form more easily in children than in adults. This is because the neural pathways in children's developing brains respond more strongly to excess glucose. This means eating a lot of sugar early in life can result in a lifelong sugar addiction. Learning how to break a sugar addiction as an adult can be challenging, but overall, decreasing your sugar intake gives you a healthier body and mind. Sugar works on the dopamine receptors in the brain, similarly to drugs and alcohol. The sugar you eat starts working on the reward centers of your brain, giving you artificial mood boosts. Excess sugar can dampen the body's ability to produce dopamine and regulate your moods on its own, which can lead to a physical addiction. The physical component makes beating a sugar addiction challenging for many people. Some people use sugar to soothe their emotions, seeking the physical high and dopamine rush that eating sugar causes. This addiction may be partly physical and partly a compulsive behavior, enjoying the actual process of eating to reduce stress or calm angry feelings. If you notice that you often turn to sugar for consolation, finding a way to help you manage your emotions and get over a sugar addiction may be a step to consider. Sugar addiction symptoms. It may be difficult to determine if you need help beating a sugar addiction. You may also be wondering if there is a difference between simply enjoying sweets and being addicted. There are a few symptoms of being addicted to sugar, a substance that many healthcare professionals say is as addictive as cocaine. If you notice that you're exhibiting some of these behaviors, and be honest with yourself, then you may have a sugar addiction. So you're hiding sugary foods. If you have a stash in a desk drawer or hidden at the back of your pantry, you may be addicted to sugar. If you're making deals with yourself to justify having a treat or have to sneak to eat the foods you're craving, this indicates a problem. You need to eat more and more. Some people who eat sugar in moderation can be satisfied with just 1 or 2 bites. But if you notice that your serving sizes are becoming larger and larger, this may mean you have an addiction. Your body will need more and more sugar to create that high you're craving. Eating sugar when you aren't hungry. So for example, if you follow up a large meal with dessert, even if you feel full, then you're craving sugar instead of listening to your body. Learning how to read your body's hunger cues is one way you can learn how to kick a sugar addiction. You crave salty foods. While this may be counterintuitive, craving salty foods may be an indication that you're malnourished. Malnourishment doesn't necessarily correlate with your weight. Overweight people can be malnourished if they're eating sugary treats or foods without a lot of nutrients, instead of foods that have the vitamins and minerals their body needs. So, what are the negative side effects when quitting? You try and quit, and then have negative side effects, including ones that mimic drug or alcohol withdrawal. The first stages of sugar addiction treatment can give you withdrawal symptoms like tiredness and lethargy, headaches, and irritability. Other side effects of quitting can include nausea, muscle cramps, and bloating. You may also have habitual behaviors associated with eating sugar, like snacking in front of the TV, having a candy bar mid-afternoon, or starting your day with a sweetened coffee drink. Sugar can give you a sense of having energy, like you would get from an energy shot or natural energy. The truth is, it is false energy. Sugar gives your body a rush that allows it to get a small boost. When this boost is gone, you have what is known as a sugar crash. This crash can leave you feeling tired, or it can leave you feeling tired along with having a migraine or lightheadedness. This crash is hard to get over, and in some cases can leave you with no alternative but to end your day and get some rest. Sugar addiction causes an overstimulation of the system. It causes your body to have a reaction that makes you jumpy or anxious. This can at first be confused with just being excited or energetic. The problem is that you need to have more and more sugar to get that same reaction. This ties directly to the release of the dopamine and how more than your brain reacts to it. Your nerves, cells, and body system as a whole become used to the sugar and begin to crave it. It makes your body feel like the only way you can get the boost you need is through sugar. In this way, it is just like any other drug addiction, tricking your body into needing the chemical to keep going. These are not all the signs and key points of sugar addiction. However, these are the most common and most noticeable. They can also be easily reversed by lowering your sugar intake and noticing your sugar levels throughout the day. The dangers of being addicted to sugar. You may think sugar addiction is something that only has side effects such as obesity. The truth is, there are many other dangers related to being addicted to sugar. These dangers can cause a variety of health issues and issues in your daily life. In fact, you may not even realize what foods and sources of sugar are causing your addiction, or at the very least contributing to it. Here are a few dangers to consider where the hidden sources may be located and what to do to reduce each danger risk. People with a sugar addiction typically eat too much sugar, and there are several negative effects of excess sugar on your health. Eating or drinking too much sugar may cause you to gain weight. Sugar is calorie dense, and excess calories lead to weight gain. This can start a vicious cycle, as eating too much sugar leads to craving more, and greater feelings of hunger prompt you to eat more than you need. So, skin conditions. Sugar can also cause skin problems or exacerbate existing skin conditions like eczema, rosacea, and dry skin. It can prevent your body from rejuvenating new skin and make your complexion look dull and lifeless. High sugar diets can also cause acne or cause your acne to worsen. So when there's an excess of sugar in the body, those sugar molecules can link up with protein molecules, such as protein and lipids. And those sugar byproducts stop your cells from functioning properly and turn into advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which are not natural in the body. AGEs can attach to collagen, Collagen gives structure to your skin and all other connective tissue. Your body produces less of it as you get older, which results in fine lines and wrinkles. So these ages can attach to this collagen and elastin. Elastin helps skin to return to its original position when it is poked or pinched. And this is causing wrinkles, inflammation, and making all kinds of skin conditions from rosacea to acne 10 times worse. Migraines. When you eat a large amount of sugar, your brain reacts to that sugar. This can cause a number of reactions, including energy bursts. When this happens frequently, your regulators are dulled over time. This means that you are not feeling the full effects of the sugar and what it is doing to your system. It also means that more and more sugar is needed over time to get you the energy you need or the reaction you once had to the original amounts of sugar. When you do not have the amounts of sugar your body has now become used to, you end up with a migraine headache. If you already get headaches, you may notice a severe increase in these headaches and the headaches getting worse. That blood sugar spike caused by simple carbs and the subsequent drop in blood glucose is one of the least understood migraine triggers. It's called reactive hypoglycemia. If you don't eat enough calories for your body's needs, then your blood glucose levels drop too low. This can happen if you skip meals, fast, diet, or exercise on insufficient food. Eating a high sugar meal can cause reactive hypoglycemia because the sudden rise in blood glucose from the sugary food triggers an overproduction of insulin, which in turn makes the blood glucose levels fall too low. The brain not receiving enough glucose causes most of the symptoms of hypoglycemia, which include headaches, migraines, confusion, nausea, and sweating. Craving sweets is human, built into your taste buds and body, and even mother's milk. Sweet foods make your brains release a hit of dopamine, the best pleasure chemical you produce. But when it feeds your addiction, it is not good for you. Hypertension. Vascular diseases such as hypertension and atherosclerosis are another effect of too much sugar. There's a correlation between high sugar diets and a greater incidence of heart problems. Obesity, inflammation, and high blood pressure can sometimes partially come from eating too much sugar. And these conditions, in turn, increase the chances of heart and vascular diseases. Table sugar, also called sucrose, is made up of two monosaccharides, glucose and fructose. Excessive amounts of the latter seem to have the most detrimental effects on the cardiovascular system, including increased blood pressure and blood pressure variability, which increases the risk of stroke, along with an increased heart rate and demand for oxygen by the heart. It may also contribute to inflammation, insulin resistance, and other metabolic problems. Hypertension is a severe danger with a sugar addiction. This danger refers to the increased amount of high blood pressure in the system. High blood pressure can lead to heart attacks, strokes, and circulation issues throughout the body. It can also cause your blood vessels to become smaller and narrower, which affects your entire body and the blood flow throughout it. By reducing just a small amount of sugar, for example, omitting sugary drinks, you can avoid this danger and reduce the risks. Metabolic issues. One of the dangers that most people do not consider are the effects sugar addictions have on your metabolic system. These dangers include fat deposits in your cells that can cause problems with obesity, weight loss, and problems with the way certain cells function in your body. It also causes fat deposits in the blood, which can make circulation and blood flow difficult, especially with hypertension dangers that may already be present. Consuming fructose increases your hunger and desire for food more than glucose, the main type of sugar found in starchy foods. Additionally, excessive fructose consumption may cause resistance to leptin, an important hormone that regulates hunger and tells your body to stop eating. In other words, sugary beverages don't curb your hunger, making it easy to quickly consume a high number of liquid calories. This can lead to weight gain. Research has consistently shown that people who drink sugary beverages, such as soda and juice, weigh more than people who don't. Also, drinking a lot of sugar-sweetened beverages is linked to an increased amount of visceral fat, a kind of deep belly fat associated with conditions like diabetes and heart disease. Type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is another disease that can result from too much sugar. Diabetes causes your cells to become insulin resistant, leading to high blood sugar. Left untreated, diabetes can lead to blindness and degradation of your extremities, which may need to be amputated. Diabetes can also affect your metabolism, making it harder to shed unwanted pounds. The worldwide prevalence of diabetes has more than doubled over the past 30 years. Though there are many reasons for this, there is a clear link between excessive sugar consumption and diabetes risk. Obesity, which is often caused by consuming too much sugar, is considered the strongest risk factor for diabetes. What's more, prolonged high sugar consumption drives resistance to insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas that regulates blood sugar levels. Insulin resistance causes blood sugar levels to rise and strongly increases your risk of diabetes. A population study comprising over 175 countries found that the risk of developing diabetes grew by 1.1% for every 150 calories of sugar, or about 1 can of soda consumed per day. Other studies have also shown that people who drink sugar-sweetened beverages, including fruit juice, are more likely to develop diabetes. These are the most common changes and dangers. There are many other dangers to consider. If you feel that you or a family member has a sugar addiction, consider taking steps to remove or reduce sugar content in your daily diet and get your health back on track. So, hidden sources of sugar. So you've been working on your diet and doing well. You're working towards a healthy diet and clean eating. You are even working toward goals like maybe 5K runs and exercise groups. The problem is, you've been told by your nutritionist or doctor that your sugar levels are still not in a good range. You've removed soda, processed sugars, and sweets. Now you're left with wondering where the sugar is coming from. So here are a few hidden sources of sugar and what you need to do to remove them from your daily diet. So we have coffee drinks, pre-made juices, frozen dinners, and pre-made health drinks. So coffee drinks. You may not think about coffee when you think about hidden sugars in your diet, The truth is, your one packet of sugar that you do not think about adding can add up during the day. You can end up with a large amount of sugar if you drink several cups of coffee a day. On top of that, coffee drinks that are specialty drinks may have much larger amounts of sugar than you think. Though you can request the nutrition facts, there may be artificial flavors that have sugar in them that are not listed separately. Pre-made juices. You may think that you are being healthy by picking up a juice instead of a soft drink. The truth about pre-made juices is that many of them do not contain real juice. Most of them contain a small percentage of juice combined with a large amount of sweeteners and sugars. This is something that many people do not consider. Instead, the thought of drinking a healthy fruit juice is the only thought that comes to mind. To avoid this issue, consider getting a juice that is organic and full juice. Plus, check the grams of sugar on the nutrition facts before you buy. Frozen dinners. Frozen dinners rarely come to mind as a hiding spot for sugars. In many cases, sugars are used as more than just a sweetener for that small amount of dessert that might be in there. Sugars can be found in most frozen dinners, even savory ones. For example, dinners like lasagna, meatloaf, or Salisbury steak have sugars in them to help sweeten sauces and gravies. To avoid this, you can make your own frozen dinners, and that way you know what is going into your pre-made food. It also gives you the option of having food on demand instead of making the choice to get something quick that can be heated but may be loaded with sugar. Pre-made health drinks. Health drinks like smoothies are like pre-made juices. They may seem like a healthy choice and good idea, but they are not necessarily a good choice. Some smoothies contain sweetened milk, as well as sugar-based yogurts or fruits with very high natural sugar content. Instead, make your health drinks like a protein-based drink, as well as smoothies at home. You know exactly what is going into your drinks, and you can control the fruits and natural sugars. There is always an alternative to sugar that is healthy. You do not have to go with a chemical sugar substitute either. Keep that in mind when you begin to remove sugar in these hidden sources before you jump to the conclusion that there is no replacement option and that these hidden sources will just have to stay in your diet. Sugar aliases. Sugar comes in many forms, including honey, brown rice syrup, corn syrup, and molasses. You want to be aware of them as you create your meals and notice any reactions in your body. By and large, all types of sugar have the same effect on your body, with one exception. A study in the January 2nd, 2013 issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at brain imaging scans after people ate one of two types of simple sugars, fructose or glucose. Researchers found that fructose, but not glucose, altered blood flow in areas of the brain that stimulate appetite. When we take in high fructose corn syrup and fructose, it stimulates appetite and causes us to eat more. So you want to especially limit foods containing high fructose corn syrup, such as sodas and sweetened cereals. You can control the amount of extra sugar you spoon onto your food, but sometimes it's hard to spot sugar hidden in pre-sweetened, packaged, and processed products. That's why it's so important to read food labels and to know exactly how much sugar is in the foods you buy. So are artificial sweeteners better? Artificial sweeteners, which are sugar-free and typically lower in calories than sugar, might seem like healthier options, but that idea is controversial. A 2012 scientific statement from the AHA concluded that using artificial sweeteners, such as aspartame, like NutraSweet and Equal, saccharin, which is sweet low, and sucralose, which is Splenda, can reduce the number of calories in your diet, thereby helping you lose weight. However, there's also evidence that eating these sweeteners, which are generally hundreds or even thousands of times sweeter than sugar, can make you crave sweets even more. You undermine the benefit of using artificial sweeteners. For example, if you use a glass of diet soda to justify having a bowl of ice cream. Non-nutritive sweeteners are far more potent than table sugar and high fructose corn syrup. A minuscule amount produces a sweet taste comparable to that of sugar without comparable calories. Overstimulation of sugar receptors from frequent use of these hyper-intense sweeteners may limit tolerance for more complex tastes. That means people who routinely use artificial sweeteners may start to find less intensely sweet foods, such as fruit, less appealing, and unsweet foods, such as vegetables, downright unpalatable. In other words, use of artificial sweeteners can make you shun healthy, filling, and highly nutritious foods while consuming more artificially flavored foods with less nutritional value. But you say you can give up diet drinks whenever you want? Don't be so sure. Animal studies suggest that artificial sweeteners may be addictive. In studies of rats who were exposed to cocaine, then given a choice between intravenous cocaine or oral saccharin, most chose saccharin. The stages of quitting sugar. When you read magazines and health reports online, you are given the picture that quitting sugar is a simple one-step process. Just find or use an alternative and quitting can happen overnight. The truth with this is that there are actually stages of quitting sugar. You cannot just drop it without side effects and backlash from your system. So here are the stages of quitting sugar, how to start them, and what to know about making each one work for you in your daily life. So, removing known sugars. The first step to quitting sugars is to remove all the known sugars in your diet. This means removing drinks, even diet drinks that contain sugars. You also want to remove sugars that are artificial. Both cause health risks and dangers. Remove processed foods that contain high sugar contents as well. By just removing known sugars from your diet, you can reduce the amount of risks and sugars that are causing your health issues. This may seem like the simplest and easiest step, but honestly, it can be the hardest step for some people and the hardest to make choices during. The detoxing process. The second step is the detoxing process. You need to do a cleanse that removes the buildup from your system. There is no precise amount of time the detox process can take. 1 day, 3 days, or up to a month may be necessary to remove the buildup in your system and reset your system. One of the ways to do this is a clean eating diet that gives you good food, solid nutrition, and vitamins. Once you go through this process, you can move on to a healthy diet. Side effects. There are certain side effects that you need to prepare for. One of the most common is headaches. Headaches from the lack of stimulation and sugar can start within the same day and can become increasingly painful as time goes on. One way you can deal with the headaches are natural methods like meditation or essential oils. This can help reduce the effects or help you get through the headaches that may last for several days or weeks, depending on how long your sugar addiction has lasted. By taking each stage slowly, you can ensure that you will be able to handle the process easily. It will not happen overnight. It will take time, and you do need to be patient through this process. You will be rewarded with a higher health score with your doctor and the removal of risk factors related to sugar and sugar addiction. So, some tips for getting through sugar cravings. Sugar cravings are the hardest part of starting a healthy lifestyle. This is especially true if you are dealing with sugar addiction related to hidden sugar in foods or high levels of sugar in your daily diet. In fact, sugar cravings can lead to you going off your diet plan and to completely derail from your health goals. If you need to remove sugar from your diet and cut down on the sugar cravings, here are some tips to help you. If you're hooked on sugar, don't try to eliminate all sugary foods at once. If you deny yourself even a single piece of candy or a sliver of cake, you'll only crave sweets more. Instead, eat a healthy diet made up of more satisfying foods, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, healthy oils, and lean protein. Steer yourself away from sugar and eat these foods, which are digested more slowly. They'll help to even out your blood sugar, and you won't have spikes and crashes all the time. So here are a few suggestions to help you break the sugar habit that we're going to talk about. Have an alternative, smell instead of tasting, drinking infused water, and I have a few more to add to that. So find rewards that really work. For so many of us, sugary treats are a comfort. They are a reward after a long day, a way to unwind, a source of what feels like love in a difficult world. Without that comfort, you will feel deprived and it will be harder to break the habit. Get curious about what helps you and feels like a reward. It has to be significant enough to make you feel like giving up sugary treats isn't such a big deal. Some rewards that work for me are a hot bath, a delicious dinner made from healthy foods that I love and look forward to, going out to meet a friend after a long day, booking a massage at a spa. I recently did that after not having done it for much too long, or buying myself a really great book to enjoy reading. Find ways to take care of yourself in place of sugar. Things that deeply nurture you without the side effects and addictions. Don't swap one addictive behavior for another. I recently heard a lecture from a physician who specializes in addictions. He advised the audience of physicians that we need to be really careful about inadvertently triggering a patient's former addiction. For example, if someone once had a problem with heroin or cocaine, even if it was decades ago, giving them a mild narcotic pain reliever for their knee pain can trigger the dopamine-driven addiction cycle in their brain, hurling them back down destructive old roads. However innocently the process starts out. When you look for things that give you the same comfort or feeling that sugar does, don't use obvious options like wine or shopping if spending can be a problem for you. It's all too easy to trade one addiction or compulsive behavior for another, and you really haven't changed anything. If anything, you can make things worse for yourself. The just one drink phenomenon. Because of my interest in the addictive process, I have read the famous Alcoholics Anonymous Blue Book, said to be a good read for anyone with any addictive tendency. Just sub the word of your vice for the word alcohol when reading. The just one drink lie we tell ourselves is so true. People who struggle with alcohol will often tell themselves, after a stint of sobriety, that they can handle just one drink since they've been doing so well. They have that drink, and the addictive cycle in the brain gets triggered again. Before they know it, they are deeper into their addiction than ever before. This can happen with sugar. If you eliminate sugary treats after initial intense cravings, you will find your cravings virtually disappear, and you feel quite content without them. One day, you might be at a party with an irresistible array of decadent desserts, so you have one or even two. The next day, your body is craving sugar again, so you give in just this once. The next day, it happens again, and then again. So it goes back to square one until your pants don't fit again and you feel miserable. Does this sound familiar? Sugar truly is an addictive substance for many people. Have an alternative. One of the easiest ways to get over or through sugar cravings is to have an alternative. Keep sugary foods away. Don't tempt yourself by stocking candy, cookies, and other high sugar foods in your cupboards and fridge. As a substitute for those choices, keep fruit around. You want something to grab instead of the bad choice so that you can still get the sweet taste without the side effects. You can stop buying desserts and sweet treats. If you think you'll have a hard time moderating how many cookies or pieces of candy you'll eat, simply stop bringing it into the house. If others in your family are asking for treats, ask them for their cooperation in helping you beat your sugar addiction. Or you can buy small packages of your favorites instead of a large family-sized container. If you're tempted to grab something that attracts you at the grocery store, force yourself to keep walking. 5 minutes later, you'll have forgotten about it. Buy something else non-sugary and non-addictive that you really like instead. If your will gets weak at parties or social events, have your spouse or a friend remind you of your promise to yourself at that pivotal moment where you are trying to say no but want to say yes. More than anything, know that this process isn't easy. And if you fail and fall off that wagon yet again, please know that this is so normal, so common. Don't beat yourself up. Just pick yourself up and start again. If binge eating or overeating is really difficult for you and having a significant impact on your life or health, consider a 12-step group like Overeaters Anonymous. If you want a sweet treat, go for something low glycemic and healthy that won't trigger you. Berries are great. I love eating big, juicy red strawberries or copious amounts of blueberries from fresh or frozen sources. They are low glycemic, meaning they produce very little sugar in your blood and body. They won't trigger your addiction to sugar, and even if you ate a lot of them, there are virtually no negative consequences. Sweeten foods yourself. Breaking a sugar addiction begins with reducing the amount of added sugar that you have in your food. Sweetened beverages are one of the main culprits, including sodas, energy drinks, and sweet iced tea. Add sweetener yourself, gradually reducing the amount you're putting in your drink. Also consider reducing the amount of alcohol you drink. Beer and wine have a lot of sugar in them too. Start with unsweetened iced tea, plain yogurt, and unflavored oatmeal. then add your own sweetener. No matter how much sweetener you add, you probably won't put in as much as the manufacturer would have. Watch for hidden sugars in foods. Be wary of foods where sugar tends to hide, including reduced fat products. When companies take out the fat, they add back almost all the calories in sugar. Read labels. Avoid products that list sugar as the first ingredient, or that contain several different types of sugar, brown sugar, cane nectar, etc. It's one way manufacturers avoid having sugar listed as the first ingredient. Drink infused water. You may also like water with a few flavor drops added in. When you become dehydrated, it's easier to cave and say yes to sugar. However, switching to foods and drinks with artificial sweeteners may delay the amount of time it takes to kick a sugar addiction. You may have heard of infused water, but it usually refers to a method of getting more water into your system. What you can do with infused water is use natural fruits to sweeten the water. You can then have it on hand when you have a craving for something sweet. You are getting the sugar taste when you drink the water, all while hydrating your body and getting some nutrients from the infused fruits that you need. Some options are apple cinnamon infused water, orange and mint, or lemon. And remember, when sugar intake is reduced, soda and fruit juice will begin to taste uncomfortably sweet. Detox water is much gentler and very refreshing. Eat breakfast. Start out your day with a filling, nutritious meal, so you'll be less likely to give in to cravings. Steel-cut oatmeal, eggs, and fruit are all good breakfast choices. When you get used to eating fewer super sweet things, you crave them less. You become more satisfied with less sweet things. You also won't feel guilty on those less frequent occasions when you do splurge. Another thing to consider is that sugar addiction and sugar dips create stress to the body, which calls for a release of cortisol by the adrenal glands to rebalance our sugar levels. One of the functions of your adrenals, other than helping us deal with stress, is to rebalance our sugar levels. As it is, many of us suffer from compromised adrenals, and these sugar dips weaken them even further. Compromised adrenals have been linked to premature aging, dry skin, fatigue, coffee addiction, another skin aging factor, weight gain, moodiness, frequent sickness, and feeling depleted and demotivated. Eat balanced meals. Make sure you're eating balanced meals, including plenty of protein and healthy dietary fats. Protein and fats can help you feel full longer, and reducing the carbohydrates you eat helps regulate your blood sugar levels, preventing spikes and crashes that can lead to sugar cravings. Begin your morning with a healthy breakfast and keep small, naturally sugar-free snacks available throughout the day to keep your blood sugar on an even keel. Nuts and seeds may also help you crave sugar less. Serotonin is synthesized from tryptophan. Pick and choose your favorite nuts and seeds because they contain tryptophan. Studies show that eating a handful of nuts a day may lower your mortality risk for cancer, heart disease, and respiratory problems. Nuts and seeds are also good sources of fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. Distract yourself. When you feel a sugar craving coming on, try to do something to distract yourself. Exercise is a natural mood booster and can help take your mind off the cravings for a sweet treat. Take a brisk walk or do some jumping jacks to help stave off the need for sugar. If you know in advance that you're planning to break your sugar addiction, prepare a few things to turn to instead of sugar. Call a friend or take up a hobby you can practice when you want sugar, such as knitting, painting, or gardening. Sleep hygiene. Improving your sleep hygiene may also help you kick the sugar habit. Make an effort to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends, to help your body's circadian rhythms regulate naturally. When you're well rested and refreshed, it's easier to say no to the quick energy boost that sugar provides. Sleep deprivation makes it harder to say no to a sugary treat, and tiredness can make breaking a sugar addiction more difficult. There is evidence that consuming more sugars is linked to more restless, disrupted sleep. A 2016 study included healthy volunteers placed into one of two groups. One was fed a controlled diet that limited added sugars and fats and emphasized fiber. The second was allowed to eat whatever they wanted in whatever amounts. Researchers found that the second group consumed significantly more sugar and fat, and their diet had an impact on the quality of their nightly rest. The volunteers who consumed diets with more sugar spent less time in deep, slow wave sleep. This sleep stage is essential for the body's physical restoration and healing, as well as for maintaining a healthy metabolism and immune function. The volunteers who ate more sugar also took longer to fall asleep, and they experienced more restless sleep with more frequent awakenings throughout the night. So which planet rules addiction? We can certainly associate a number of meaningful planets with the concept of addiction, but there's only one which, in my view, describes the essence of addiction. The moon rules intoxicants, but one can be addicted to money or sex or gambling, which are not intoxicants. So while it certainly is the addiction of choice for many, the moon is only one example of addiction. The moon is also cravings, but addiction is not in place for the craving itself. It is the craving for something. That something is what addiction is essentially about. Jupiter is excess, and certainly excess is in the nature of addiction. But what must be asked is, why the need for that excess in the first place? The answer to that question is what addiction is essentially about. Mars is destructive, but that is a side effect of addiction. The core of addiction is not about self-destruction. As far as I can perceive, nobody becomes an addict out of the desire to destroy oneself, even though we may well succeed in doing so, and it may appear so on the surface. It is rather the opposite. Deep love of oneself is sought. The effort is just totally misguided. The proof is that unless that self-love is found, the addiction cannot effectively leave. And when it is found, it often does leave. Another colleague astrologer mentioned that Saturn is entrapment, and therefore Saturn rules addiction. Indeed, addicts are quite often entrapped. But again, the entrapment is due to something more fundamental. One is entrapped because one wants the lure that is on the hook, which then pulls the cage door shut. So again, Saturn is a consequence of the essence of addiction. What is the lure? So all of these planets paint a shade of addiction, but none touch its core. So what is the essence of an addiction then? My understanding is that most of, if not all, addictions are first and foremost based on a desire to move away from pain and or obtain pleasure. We are unable to deal with the pain or discomfort life serves us. So we take shelter in compulsive pleasure, as fleeting as it may be. From food to hoarding and gambling, from caffeine to cocaine and alcohol, from money to sex, fame and recognition, there is an emptiness that needs to be filled, and many of us choose an addiction to fill it. The basis of that void is the subject for another discussion, but I will mention it briefly. Fear. Fear of want, fear of loss, fear of being judged or rejected, fear of inadequacy, fear of loss, of control, fear of change. You name your favorite one. Fear, which in turn is based on a mistaken sense of self. Addiction obviously has degrees and can take a multitude of forms. It can also have a biochemical imbalance component, which makes the addiction less of a psychological issue where no fear is necessarily involved, copy anyone. But the essence of the action is always the same. We are unhappy or just uncomfortable and seek happiness, with the caveat that the means we choose to achieve the sought happiness may cause harm to ourselves via an excess of some kind of activity that will produce pleasure. So astrology then. If we follow the Chaldean order around the chart, we find Venus to be the natural ruler of house 12, which is the house of the subconscious. For good reason, I believe. Venus describes the essence of addiction, pleasure. It is also curious that Saturn, who joys in house 12, is exalted in a Venus sign, leading us to the natural antidote to the lesson offered by the lure of excessive Venus. A significant part of the solution to addiction is wisdom and restraint, earned in and with time, all naturally ruled by Saturn. The other part lies with the Venus herself, but in her higher manifestation, love. Love, not fear, after all, is our natural state. So our universe was built in a way that the astrological boogeyman, the greater malefic, is not an absolute bad guy and can do a great job in house 12. So I would go for Venus as the natural ruler of addiction. However, I'm yet to see this natural rulership being of practical use in an astrological interpretation, except to paint a nuance to the situation. So by incorporating these tips and combining them into a plan, you can ensure that you are covered through any sugar cravings you have. You will also move towards healthier choices to replace sugars and help your body reach the goal you have set. And don't underestimate the power of sugar. Seriously. So are you ready to break your sugar addiction? If so, you can contact me at lynn@feedingyourhealth.com. Or if you go to my website, feedingyourhealth.com, and scroll down, you'll see a box that looks like this, and schedule a free 30-minute private one-on-one consultation with me. Stop the share and start my video. And so, well, there are many sugar programs out there, and I know many of them are really good. I've looked at many of them, and they are good. At this moment, I don't have a sugar program because I want to work with you as an individual to find out which foods work best for you, what's going on in your gut, in your blood, so that we can tweak things for you. It may be that in the future, I will create a sugar program for you to work off of. But for now, you have this recording and these materials to help you get started, and contact me so that I can be there to help coach you along. If you have any questions, again, contact me at lynn@feedingyourhealth.com. All right. Have a great day.